Welcome to The Economy Magazine. I'm Benjamin John Alfares with a closer view into some of the main developments in the global economy. Coming up in today's magazine, leaders gather in Davos for 44th World Economic Forum, and Iraq's Basra airport offers glimmer of hope. First, a look at the headlines. We begin in China, where leaked records revealed close relatives of China's top leaders hold secretive offshore companies shrouding the communist elite's wealth. Relatives of at least 5 current and former members of China's top leadership have been exposed as having offshore accounts. The leak points to nearly 22,000 offshore clients with addresses in mainland China and Hong Kong, and 16,000 offshore clients from Taiwan. The report comes at a crucial moment in China's ongoing debate on the wealth amassed by family members of China's top leaders. Moving on now to the energy market, as U.S. demand for oil grew more than China's last year for the first time since 1999. The International Energy Agency said U.S. oil demand rose by 390,000 barrels a day last year, reversing years of steady decline. Chinese demand rose by 295,000 barrels a day, the weakest in at least 6 years. Oil demand figures indicate the strength of industrial and consumer activity. New drilling techniques that unlocked U.S. shale oil and gas reserves have boosted U.S. oil consumption and with it economic growth. Moving on to the International Monetary Fund, which raised its forecast for global growth. The IMF improved its forecast for global economic growth to 3.7% from 3.6%, following revisions globally. U.S. GDP will expand 2.8% versus 2.6%. The UK will gain 2.4% rather than 1.9%, and Japan will increase 1.7% as opposed to 1.2%. The IMF warned that downside risks remain, including financial market volatility in emerging markets. Going now to Argentina, which expects months of negotiations for repayment of its debt to the Paris Club of Creditor Nations. Argentina made a concrete proposal for repayment of its $6.5 billion debt to the Paris Club government. Its total debt is believed to be around $10 billion, including late interest fees and penalties. The Paris Club was created in 1956 to help Argentina avoid a default on its sovereign debt. Argentina and the club's 19 members, which include Germany, the US, Italy, and Japan, have been at odds following its default on $100 billion in public debt in 2001. Over now to Italy, where a Vatican cleric is standing trial for trying to smuggle millions of euros into the country. Police accuse the cleric of laundering fake donations worth millions of euros through the Vatican's Institute of Religious Works. The cleric, who was a former top Vatican accountant, is already standing trial for smuggling 20 million euros from Switzerland in a private jet. And Serbia officially kicked off membership talks with the European Union in hopes of becoming the 29th EU state. The official start to the membership talks comes after Serbia made significant steps in efforts to normalize ties with breakaway Kosovo. Serbia hopes the historic start of the accession talks will provide a boost to its struggling economy. Negotiations will begin with the 2 most difficult and important of the 35 policy chapters, those on judiciary and basic rights. We're going now to Davos, where the planet's most powerful come together to discuss the state of the world economy with a particular focus on the growing global wealth gap. Daniel Roth has more.
The World Economic Forum arrives to the Swiss resort town of Davos this week for the annual invite-only event that brings together 2,500 people, including CEOs and others from the 1,000 member companies, and many other VIPs, including 40 heads of state and a slew of government officials. The planet's most powerful are coming together to discuss the world's future with some focus on the large and growing global wealth gap. It's something highlighted by Oxfam's recent report that the world's 85 richest people own as much wealth as the poorest 3.5 billion people. Not everyone thinks the situation is dire.
So the worst is behind us as in terms of the developed world, the advanced economy. So it's a timing issue. The emerging markets are slowing just as the developed world is accelerating.
WEF founder Klaus Schwab sees a link between the conversation at Davos and the global economic crisis.
If we look at the programs of the last years, they have been overshadowed by crisis. It was last year, particularly the Euro crisis. Now it's time to look at the real fundamental changes which are happening in the world. It's a technology area, it's a societal field, and so on.
The theme of this year's meeting, the reshaping of the world, consequences for society, politics, and business, may seem like a tall order for a forum with no official decision-making power. But the high-profile attendee list tells a different story. The Pope, who has been using his platform to criticize huge salaries and growing income gaps worldwide as indicative of an economy rooted in inequality and greed, was invited but won't be there himself.
I would have liked to see the Pope here because he has a strong message, but I'm very pleased to know that the Pope will send a message to be read by one of his foremost cardinals.
It is intolerable that thousands of people continue to die every day from hunger, even though substantial quantities of food are available.
Inequality is on the rise worldwide. In the United States and China, as well as in struggling economies such as Portugal, the richest have doubled their share of their economies over the last 3.5 decades.
I think the topics we'll be discussing around inequality, around pay between the different countries in the world, gender equality and gender parity, and I think it's going to be quite a healthy discussion around health as well.
It is entirely possible that some of the conversations taking place at Davos this week can help to spark a change.
And you're joined on the phone by Eitan Avriel, founder and managing editor of Israeli financial daily, The Marker, for an insider's perspective on Davos. Mr. Avriel.
Hi, hello.
Hi, thank you very much for joining us. So,
thank you very much.
What is the mood like in Davos? Can you give us a sense of what it's like to be there, or take us on a tour? Show us what's noteworthy.
Well, as you've mentioned in your reporting, the formal theme of this year's meeting is the inequality and gap between the rich and the well-off and the rest of the population. And nobody's missing that view. All the newspapers and all the commentators are focusing on that. But in fact, that is not what is happening in Davos. That is not why 2,500 heads of the largest conglomerates in the globe have come here. They are here to do business. They are here to do public relations. They are here to meet with each other, to meet with clients, to meet with the press, and make some business connections, so that at the end of the day they can make more money in 2014 than they made in 2013. So it will be a mistake to believe that this is actually a place where inequality and the gap of wealth is discussed. It is absolutely not. It is not even very high on the agenda of the formal discussions and the panel. These include just about everything, but the most important things that are happening here are the luncheon, the cocktails, the parties, the meetings, most of them unknown to most of the guests. Of each sector has their own meeting, and all the heads of banks are sitting together, all the heads of newspapers are sitting together, all the heads of energy companies have their own lunch and party and cocktail several times during the week, and it's a big and happy mix of wealth and power and politicians. And also some celebs here and there. We have Matt Damon working around in the corridor, and people are really thinking about how to make more money. And it's very sunny here, and the mood is very good because they think it's going to be a very good year.
It's a very daunting realization that is in fact the focus. It sounds like a big media spectacle. The fact of the matter is, however, that about 85 people in the world do own about the same amount of money as the bottom half of the population of the whole globe. I mean, is this ultimately will affect the economy of the world? I mean, isn't this something that concerns them?
It concerns them only insofar as it might lead to a loss of business, a loss of profit, a loss of growth for their own countries and their own companies. So when the World Economic Forum issues a report about the risks in the world, and the number one topic on top of that report is inequality, it's not in a moral sense that they claim that. It's in the sense that, all right, if this is going to continue, or we're going to have more inequality, maybe some people will not like that. Maybe there will be some demonstration. Maybe at some point people will decide not to buy products from some companies, and it's going to be bad for business and bad for the economy and bad for growth.
Okay.
This is not the UN. It's a private, it's a company that organizes a private event. It is true that many people come here, but the reason for coming here is in fact doing more business.
Right.
That's the whole point.
No.
What you see here are banks and insurance companies, and people are here. You know what? Why? Because being here proves that you are the powerful and strong and wealthy person that you are. If you're not here, then you might not be one.
Right.
That.
Can I just, sorry to interject here, but what about the Israeli delegation of businessmen of business people, who went to Davos to promote the concept of two states for two nations? I mean, is that along the same lines of what you described?
Absolutely. There is a larger delegation this year compared to previous years. So a plane is coming from Israel with the Prime Minister, with the Minister of Justice, with the head of the central bank, with obviously with the President, Mr. Shimon Peres, and they will all deal with public relations. They have no real intention or anything deep to say about global inequality in that sense. There's not going to be a discussion about inequality in Israel either. What they are going to do is they're going to come and present the Israeli economy, try to tell people that it's been a strong economy compared to others in the past 5 years, try to tell them a lot about the Israeli high-tech and promote the concept of the startup nation, whether you accept it or not, and see people and maybe also, start some relations that might, in the future, turn into something concrete. But no deals are going to be made here, no contracts are going to be signed in Israel. It's basically a very large public relation exercise. That does not mean it's not worthwhile doing. We are going to hear a lot of announcements in the likes of Mr. Prime Minister Netanyahu has met with this and this, head of that, this and that, and they have agreed to continue thinking about cooperation in the future and probably send a delegation to each other's country, each other company.
Well,
and that's not a bad thing, but it will not be around inequality, and people are not going to try to solve the problem of the world.
Thanks, Eitan Avriel, for giving us insights into this. Eitan Avriel, founder and managing editor of Israeli financial daily The Marker, who joined us from Davos. Thank you very much. We move on to Basra, Iraq, where government investment in renovation of the international airport have greatly boosted business in the southern oil hub city. More in the following report.
$65 million were spent by Iraqi authorities in 2011 to expand and renovate the airport in Basra, the third biggest airport in Iraq. The investments have paid off, with new companies finding space to operate and growing passenger numbers.
Only the Jordanian Royal Airlines and Iraqi Airlines were working here at the beginning. The prospects are now expanding, in particular when other companies come here, such as the El Nasser company that worked here for a while transporting tourists. Iranian companies, like Mana and Zargos, also invested in religious tourism.
The airport is also developing business through oil. Iraq, which has some of the largest reserves in the world, has awarded 4 licenses to develop oil fields that have been ravaged by years of war and instability. Most of these operations are located in Basra, where, according to reports, violence in recent months has subsided.
After the licensing round for oil, many private airlines started working here. Some of those airlines were Arab Wings Airlines, Palm Jet, and Sky Airlines. All the airlines are transporting VIPs and businessmen.
All of the economic activity is having beneficial effects on the city of Basra, where more and more projects are emerging, including the Times Square Theater. The last time construction took place in Iraq like this was 1980.
We're joined now by Daniel Roth for Media Watch. Daniel, so I understand you have something about Amazon?
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal had this interesting, kind of creepy article about Amazon wants to ship packages before you even buy them. Ooh. They think they know you well enough. It's not actually true. The headline's a little creepier than the reality.
Yes.
They want to ship packages to warehouses in areas where products are particularly popular, right. But they're going to use things like hovering the mouse over a buy button, wish lists, searches from a particular neighborhood to try to determine if you're going to buy something based on where you live and who you are.
Wow, okay, well, on that creepy note, we're going to have to leave you here. Thank you very much all for watching us. Please send us your comments via our website, Facebook, and Twitter, and do join us again tomorrow.